Shalom, this is Daniel with Bless Israel Network. I wanted to give you a brief update in regard to what's been happening this past week in Israel. It's been a very trying time, and as some of you may know, I am in California and not able to be with my wife during this very tumultuous period. Essentially what's happened is there have been fires all over the country, and a significant percentage of them have apparently been intentionally set. Let me give you a little background and tell you kind of what's been happening. A few weeks ago, the Israeli government began talking about passing a new law asking the Muslims to lower the volume on their calls to prayer, which happen 5 times every day starting at 4 a.m. Now, in Israel, about 21% of the entire population is made up of Arabs, and 99% of them are Muslim. So there are mosques throughout the country, they have minarets, and they have loudspeakers on them, and when they conduct their calls to prayer, it's actually something you can hear for a long ways away, and especially in the late evening hours and early morning hours. So the Israeli government decided that this is something they felt needed to be moderated a bit. So they began talking about asking the Muslims to lower the volume, not terminate it, but simply lower the volume between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. in the morning. Not an unreasonable request. Well, this set the Muslims off, and they began a new wave of terrorism and a new method of terrorism, which is setting fires. And they set fires all over the country: Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Netanya, Zikron Yaakov, Hadera. The worst of it was where we live in Haifa. And there were fires all over Haifa. And up on top of Mount Carmel, which is where we live, was some of the worst of the worst. Now, it turns out that on Thanksgiving, which is celebrated by a lot of ex-Americans that live in Israel, my wife was invited down to some friends of ours about 30 minutes from where we live, and we have done that on several occasions during the time we've been in Israel. And so on this particular day, the timing of her being down there was when the worst of the fires erupted in Haifa and up on Mount Carmel where we live. Well, needless to say, she was quite emotional, upset, didn't know whether or not our apartment had been burned to the ground or not. So after dinner, which she really was not able to enjoy, after dinner she said, I just simply have to go. I've got to see if we still have a home or not. And she got in a car and she took what normally is about a 30-minute drive, which ended up being about 90 minutes, through all the traffic and the emergency equipment and people walking the streets with their belongings because many homes had already been charred and were uninhabitable. She was finally able to get up to our apartment. 2 blocks away, I should say, is where the devastation stopped. That's how close it came to our place. So blessedly, she was able to get back into our apartment, and we collectively breathed a great sigh of relief. However, the strife continued, and until maybe just a day or two ago, fires were continuing to break out throughout the country. And it's been a very stressful situation for all Israelis, and Lord knows the poor folks that have been devastated by this. Our heart goes out to them. Somewhere between 700 and 800 homes and apartments in Haifa alone have been ruined or damaged or completely destroyed. Roughly 1,800 to 2,000 people are left homeless. There's been a number of elderly that have been left homeless. Many of them are Holocaust survivors. So it's a very stressful time, and of course, you know, it makes it even more difficult when here I am, some 9,000 miles away in the United States in California, and I can't be with my wife to comfort her. So it's been a very, very difficult time. So we really just covet your prayers And while my wife is physically safe, emotionally, it's a very challenging time. She keeps her bag packed because she might get a call or a knock on the door in the middle of the night and still have to run out of the apartment because the Arabs just don't seem to want to stop this, or I should say the Muslims just don't seem to want to stop this. So we just don't know what the future is going to hold, but I thought I'd share this little personal message with you, share our personal experience and what's been going on. So please do keep us and all of Israel in your prayers. We appreciate your love and your prayers and your support. God bless you.